This is a video number 4.2. In this video, I will be discussing forming the team structure. Once the designing of the architecture is over, the next step is to form a team to work on that particular architecture. That is, once architecture for a system under construction has been agreed on, the teams are allocated to work on major models, and work breakdown structures is created that reflect those teams. That is, we can make a team called the developer team, tester team, designer team, implementation team, like this many maintenance team, like this quality assurance team, like this many teams we can make in order to implement that particular design architecture in a real scenario. And each team then creates its own internal practices, means they adopt their own working practice. They choose their own principles how to implement depending on the software using different software engineering principles. For large systems, the teams may belong to different subcontractors. That is, if the team is if the architecture is of minimum size, then with the existing team they can go ahead to implement. If for large systems like building of data centers and all, it may require under subcontractors. Means, for example, the company called A is designing architecture. It is designing for large systems. Then the number of workers may not appropriate to work on that. Then it may take a contract from some other company called B, and this is called as the people working over there. These are called as subcontractors. And team adopt work practices including that is team communication via website or bulletin boards. They may use different email communications, website communications, or bulletin boards they can use. And naming conventions for files. For example, the team one who works on implementation, the files can be named as implementation 1, 2, 3 or ABC or XYZ, like this. The teams who work on testing, they may name the files as a testing 1, 2, 3 or ABC XYZ depending on the company convention. Means the team has to adopt these things, that is naming convention for files, and a configuration revision contract system. What is the configuration of that particular system in order to control a system? And configuration means what is the processor, the type of a processor, the speed of a processor, the amount of storage required, the amount of security required. Like this, different configurations can be discussed here. And quality assurance and testing procedure, how to check the quality, whether the product is 100% providing its functionality, intended functionality. To check this, we require a quality assurance and testing procedure team. And the teams within an organization work on a model, and thus within team they may have a high level of communication is necessary. This is about how to form a team structures and what they follow once the team structure is formed. And next is creating a skeletal system. Means it is just a blueprint of a system we are building, it is architectural system here. And for this we need to develop a skeletal system for the incremental cycle. Incremental means once the system is built, we are day by day or on the hourly basis or monthly basis, on yearly basis, we are adding a different systems over there. With the existing system, if any new system is required, we are go on adding these systems, and this is called the incremental cycle. And the second one is classical software engineering practices recommends stubbing out. Whatever the classical software engineering practices are discussed in the software engineering principle, that has to be recommended here. And use the architecture as a guide for implementation sequence. Means without any architecture, we cannot implement any kind of models here. That is without it is like that the best analogy for this is, before constructing a home we need to plan what are the that is layout of the home, what are the different rooms will be present there, and what are the directions of the door and how they function. These are the how we plan while constructing the architecture of a house. In the same way, we need to construct the architecture. After that, we use that architecture in order to implement models sequence by sequence. And first implement the software that deals with execution and interaction of architectural components. Means the architecture is a structure of structures. Many structures are together performing their task, a specified task of particular system. Then they require different interaction and execution models in order to communicate between different existed models in the architecture. This is called as the word communication between the components. And second important aspect is, sometimes this is just to install third party middleware and then add a functionality by risk lowering or by availability of the stuff. After this, once the elements providing the next increment of the functionality have been chosen, we can employ user structure to tell you what additional software should be running correctly in the system to support that functionality. This process continues, proving larger and larger increments of the system until it is in a aligned place. This is about how to form a team structure and how the team members work. And next is documenting the software structures. In any industry, whether it's a software or a chemical or aerodynamics or any kind of organization, government or a private, it is a must to maintain a documentation. That is how to documenting the software architectures. We will be studying how to maintain a documentation, how to create a documents. That different aspects we will be studying under this heading. That is documenting the software architectures, uses of architectural documentation. Architectural documentation is both prescriptive and descriptive. Prescriptive means that is it is just like index. It is not elaborately discussed all the that is aspect that is present in while designing the software architecture. It is called as just a prescriptive architecture, and descriptive means elaborately each and from the 0 to 100 each step will be elaborately discussed here. This is called as a descriptive documentation. That is, for some audiences it prescribes what should be true by placing a constraints on decisions to be made. For other audiences it describes what is true by recounting decisions already made about a system design. And next is, all of this tells us that different stakeholders for documentation have different needs. Stakeholders may be users, customers, management personnel, etc. Then what is the purpose of this documentation? That is, documentation facilitates the facilitates that communication. Some examples of architectural stakeholders and the information they might expect to find the documentation are given in the table number 9.1. Let us see what is discussed in the table number 9.1. It is stakeholders and communication needs served by architecture. That is this is the stakeholder, architect and requirements engineers who represent a customer or multiple customers. Use is to negotiate and make trade-offs among competing requirements. The second important factor is architect and designers of constituent parts. Hmm. The first stakeholder is architect and requirements engineers. And the second stakeholder in this table is architect and designers of constituent parts to resolve a resources contention and establish a performance and other kinds of runtime resource consumption budgets. And third one is implementers, one who implement the actual design. These are called as implementers to provide unavailable constraints on downstream development activities. And the fourth stakeholder is testers and integrators, one who test whether the particular the part the component in the software architecture is working fine, it is providing the intended functionality or not, along with the quality assurance. These team will provide a documentation for to specify the correct black box behavior of the pieces that must fit together. And the last one is maintainers, these maintainers will provide a document to reveal areas prospective change will affect. And next users will be stakeholders under the type of stakeholders. Designers of other system with which this one must interoperate, that is what is the use of this documentation? To define a set of operations provided and required and the protocols for their operation. What are the protocols to be used in order to implement those operations and requirements? And the next stakeholder is a quality attribute specialist. These persons will take care of the quality of the models to provide what are the documentation they maintain. These documents contain to provide the model that drivers analytical tools such as rate monotonic real-time schedulability analysis, simulation generators, theorem provers, verifiers, etc. And these tools require information about resource consumption, that is resource with respect to energy, with respect to storage, with respect to memory, with respect to processor. All these kind of resources will be come under resource consumptions. And scheduling policies, dependencies, the dependencies in the sense the model dependency. Some models they work independently, some models they dependent on some other model to instantiate its functionality, and what are the different scheduling policies and so forth. Architecture documentation must contain the information necessary to evaluate a variety of quality attributes such as security, performance, usability, availability and modifiability. Analysis for each attribute have their own information needs. These are the different contents that should be presented in the stakeholder document called quality attribute specialist. And next one is managers. These persons will take care of to create a development teams corresponding to work assignments identified, and to plan and allocate project resources and to track progress by the various teams. This is again another document that tells different work assignment for the team members and what to identify the requirement, how to identify the requirements, and how to plan the requirements, and how to implement and allocate project resources, and to track progress by various teams. And the next stakeholder is product line managers, and these team members will determine whether the potential new member of a product family is in or out of a scope, and if these are the out of scope, then how to take care of these things. And the last stakeholder is quality assurance team, and these team members document about to provide a basis for conformances checking for assurance that implementations have been faithful to the architectural prescriptions. These are the different documentation need to be maintained while designing a software architecture, and this is collected from Clements Finn